apologize for this break. Something went wrong with our internet. I think maybe some sort of maintenance taking place or something on behalf of our ISP, and suddenly we lost connection and lost sound and had to wait 10-15 minutes for things to come back on. Everything is up and running. Anyway, I did not lose the thread. I do remember all I've been telling you earlier, all about content creation, and I sort of ended on the note that we have a very different experience today. On one hand, we have access to technology, which means if we are in possession of a laptop or high quality Android smartphone or iPhone, we can be immediately becoming content creators on Twitch and YouTube. It'll be all down to ourselves, our skills, our versatility, our broadcasting knowledge, and the way we come across. The list just goes on. But we are facing this difficulty, which is basically a sea of people. A sea of people are there who are doing exactly the same thing. So who do you choose? Who appears to be a lot better? Obviously, if you want to find out for yourself, you have dozens of thousands of different channels with various presenters, broadcasters, and indeed content creators, with a versatility, with the diversity never ever previously seen in human history. And that's both really a bit arduous and highly exciting. And I think the answer to that, i.e. how do I progress forward in industry, is I can tell you, first of all, by being true to the core. You need to be absolutely original, you need to be yourself in the same way as you would be in any other circumstances. If you think of people who you really like the best, you can obviously consider some people from your own environment, some of the relatives or friends. You can think of maybe some celebrities and individuals known through broadcasting. If you met them in real life, and if you discovered that they were exactly the same as they came across on the big screen, that is a true delight. You really love that. You find yourself feeling, you see, he actually is just like you would expect him to be. He's just himself, 100%. He's true to his core. He's not pretending. He's not really showing off. He doesn't want to be, doing anything that would provide him with a distance or put him on a pedestal. He's just like all of us. Also, in your own environment with friends and colleagues, you'll say you really like the people the best who are always exactly the same. In any circumstances, be it at work or in social situation or when they are with their families. So that's important. I think, if you are to be retaining the quality that you have and the originality of all you do live, you will need to keep this in mind. It is fundamental. And I always try to be as true to the core as possible, and I think I managed to attract considerable and sizable communities in various areas of operation due to that. The second thing you need to accept is consistency, regularity, and hard work. Right? So content creation will require a lot of planning. Initially, you'll try out different things, you experiment, you basically want to find your niche. But once you've found it, once you know exactly where you are and what you want to be doing, you will have to be doing a lot of planning, a lot of research. And this could vary from, for instance, research on the content you wish to be providing to the research on your own community, i.e. what your people really want to see, what really they will respond to the best, and generally for yourself to be fully on the same frequency as those people who come every single day to view you. And it's something that you will be doing for a long while. All these successful streamers, they didn't become successful overnight. If you think of Ninja or Shroud, I always mention them too because I think these guys are really the best possible example. They're very hard working, they've been dedicated to video gaming for more than 20 years, and that really shows when they really present live, be it through the gameplay or the way they come across. And also these are the guys who played some of the tournaments, they've been involved with broadcasting, they have a lot of experience. Nothing came easy for them. Make no mistake, nothing came easy for them. And although they obviously became very successful and to a degree established and wealthy, the fact is they worked really hard. I'll give you another example. Danuzdi, she is a colleague streamer from Baltic Republics, and she's been running her channel for quite some time, and she specialized just in one single niche, and that is Battle Royale and FPS. So she had been hammering PUBG for about 4 years every single day, and she runs a channel which is, I guess you could say, to a degree competitive, because she always is after a win, does it as a single player in duos and sometimes with a few other participants. And it's astonishing to see that she had attracted a huge number of subscribers and followers, in so much that she had been able to earn enough money to build and create her new house. So it's not just a home, it's a whole house, which is, based on her hard work. Evidently people appreciated all she did. She's very user-friendly, very family-friendly. She is very attentive. She's also a musician. She's very versatile, and being able to stream had provided her with a platform for her music in addition to video gaming. And she's very attentive, very communicative, very much a person who wants to be coming across as a competitive gamer, but also running a very, very seriously interactive community-based channel. So if you want to find out how to become successful, if you're a younger streamer, if you are a person who wants to get to this position where you'll say you're in the know, well, watch her channel and learn from her. And I've watched some of her broadcasts for some time, and maybe not in their entirety, because obviously my schedule, and it's always great to see, like for instance, anytime I stream, I have a look at what she's doing, because she streams always at 12 o'clock midday UK time, so I believe that would be 2 o'clock PM her time. I think it's in Latvia, and that would be the best possible format on how you can become a successful, well-known and indeed established content creator. And don't forget, considering how things are, she was able to raise the revenue from her subscriptions, donations and all of the contributions to a degree in which at the age of, I think, 28, she's been able to get her own home, actually built from scratch. So it means she worked together with an architect to build it for her, and the home looks really incredible. If you look up on her Twitter, you will get pictures and everything. So that needs to be your perfect example, a person, somebody who is actually living by example as well. If you want to be doing something like her, you need to display the same degree of dedication, you need to be working as hard, and you need to be consistent and regular, and you need to be doing it over a lengthy period of time. Coming back to content creation, the way we are going to be establishing and promoting ourselves once we got into our niche, once we already were running it for a little while, is all down to ourselves. Some people will do a diverse sort of content creation on various platforms, and they will basically bring in people from Instagram, from YouTube, from Pinterest, from Twitter and various other forums, Reddit sometimes as well, and then they'll just build their own community. It will depend on their versatility and their broadcasting skills, as well as how they come across overall. It will sometimes depend on the type of game that they are selecting, because make no mistake, if you are looking at non-multiplayer games, it will be a harder work, and it will be certainly a long run for you. The reason is simple: people want to join in if you are doing PUBG, Destiny and Warzone, because these are the games that are bringing people together. They want to be watching, they want to be participating, making contact, not just with yourself as a broadcaster, but also with other participants. They sometimes watch squads that play together, like we had with Destiny and Warzone here on my channel, and they'll connect with one of the squad mates. They will want to kind of team up with them outside of our broadcasting hour. Don't forget, lots of people do not want to be recorded live on air on Twitch, and it will be an ideal opportunity for them to make initial contact and then carry on. But I apologize, I just realized that I didn't double check my stream there. Bear with me a second. Right, so coming back to my earlier thread on content creation, I find myself really in a position where I've created thousands of videos. All of them are indeed archived on YouTube. I did stream through Twitch exclusively, with the exception of February of 2020, where I tried Mixer, as I joined Xbox Live Online Mixer community, and that was not a very happy experience. So, all of my broadcasting, streaming live online life had been dedicated to this platform, and I think there are certain broadcasters and channel owners who can be really seen as the examples of successful build-up and successful kind of community management, and I would really recommend Danuzdi as one of the very best. I have her on top of my list, and I really always admire people who are very youthful but who are also so driven, so dedicated, both with their task and with enthusiasm, as well as the need to be creating, the need to be progressing forward. And as a person who's been involved with several creative industries and also mental health work for many years, I did come across quite a number of such people, and I'm always in awe of that talent. I'm in awe of the determination. But I can certainly tell you the most important thing for people who are successful, in addition to the great talent they have, is one particular character trait, and that is being persistent, being stubborn, and being completely insensitive to anything that comes your way which is trying to unseat you. So 3 characteristics which are absolutely pivotal, because the people who really succeeded in a very big fashion, they were not going to be weeping if they've seen that somebody threw a nasty comment at them. They'll just carry on, they'll follow their own rules, their own direction, they'll carry on with the works in order to get to that final goalpost. So it's persistence, it's stamina, and it's, I guess, to some degree, a resistance to any form of negativity or anything that can really derail them from the course. So, I'm trying to think why I really started telling you all about content creation. There must have been a reason, but it was all to do with the photographs I've taken and the fact that I can be, a wonderful photographer with such high quality camera and the experience of media photography I have under my belt, and therefore these photographs could also be brought into my other devices. I can use Photoshop or any other editing software in order to make them truly beautiful, and then pictures of these wonderful sunsets or picture postcards, sceneries and spots that I treasure can be imported to my Xbox, PlayStation and computer. I can use them as wallpaper or screensaver, so the list just goes on and on. And don't forget, you can also, if you're a successful photographer, join other communities which are based on real life photography, and you can meet some wonderful people out there. These communities have grown tremendously because lots of people are taking photographs on iPhones and Androids, and like Sony cameras, incredible, and the picture quality is just absolutely mouth-watering. You can become a part of that community, become a content creator, and first of all, you join a group, you talk to people online, make certain connections, and then obviously we're still living under the huge duress due to the pandemic, but eventually when the pandemic is gone, such groups also meet up in real life, organize mini exhibitions, run various community groups, volunteer, go out sometimes to various spots in order to take photographs, arrange photo sessions, and it's a very good way forward. One thing that really drew me to media photography, and particularly being involved with the music community, was the social aspect of that activity. I can assure you, if you are properly embedded within one of those scenes, you will never be idle. There'll be so many people coming to you, they see you there with a camera, they all want to talk to you because everybody wants to look beautiful. And also, not just that, people want to be noticed. They want to have the photograph taken, for that photograph to be seen by somebody somewhere. And considering that prior to that I worked in a very sort of isolated and isolating environment, consulting room based work, one-to-one, or one with a smaller group of people, obviously due to confidentiality and the legal side of things, it's a very sort of solitary type of work that I would have been doing for quite a number of years, and that was coupled with my very extensive therapeutic community work, which was everything but it was a way for me to come back into a very sociable environment where you could run different networks, connect with other musicians, become fully involved. And in fact, I didn't intend to be as involved. It was the people that brought me in. And the same thing happened here with my channel. As a content creator, I wanted to experiment on Twitch before running podcasts for Film Dialogue, and it just turned out that the community, based on Destiny membership and viewership as well as the gameplay, was just dragging me in and bringing me in every single day. When are you going to come back? And kept receiving messages on my mobile saying, "Are you back today? When are you on?" And it's a wonderful experience because you want it, right? People really want to see more of you, and they want to be more present with you within that wonderful forum online that is giving you this unique opportunity. So all of that is really truly wonderful, and certainly I will recommend it to everyone. It doesn't matter whether you want to be running your communities in a fashion which is based on the idea that you want to be like Ninja or Shroud, or whether you want to run a small community in order to build a couple of clans and have your regulars and enjoy a bit of chit chat online together with others if you are entering the wonderful world of multiplayers. Anyway, coming back to the recommendations, if you like music photography, you need to check out Kevin Cummins, Patti Smith and Anton Corbin. These are the legendary photographers, and they have absolutely incredible body of works which you need to be soaking up if you're interested in taking some snapshots of musicians, live or otherwise. And if you're looking at successful young broadcasters on Twitch, I can certainly recommend Danus D as being by far the best. Her studio that she built looks incredible, and the way she runs the regular broadcast is second to none. So you will be able to, when you watch the streams, watch them in order to learn, not just to be looking at how she's eliminating the opponents. Learn from her style of broadcasting. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Danus, if you're watching, you can obviously send me a message or I'll stand corrected. I thought she did a similar thing to myself. She wanted to experiment first because as a budding young musician, she was looking for a platform on which she could promote her music, and it just turned out to be that the viewers were so greatly in awe of her style and her presentations that they just wanted to be doing more of PUBG. And it's interesting how life unfolds, is it not? But that's just the way it is. Sometimes you always have to look for the signs, and you need to be responsive to what comes to you, because if you don't, you will be missing out on certain opportunities. Alright, so that was a lengthy introduction. My goodness, I want to tell you something else, but I've just gone down the route of content creation, and I keep receiving quite a lot of messages from YouTube and Twitch asking for additional works to be built there, and I just have no time for that. But the forums run by particularly YouTube on content creation are very good. So if you are at the very beginning of your broadcasting journey, you will be able to learn a lot from their videos and some of the advisors, and just watch everything, find your niche, make sure you get to know what you like doing the best, and then jump with both feet in. Make sure that you're in it and love it. Once you stop loving it, then that's the end. You really should simply discontinue, because if there's no love and passion for what you do, then it's not worth doing, really. And with broadcasting in particular, the viewers will be very, very sensitive to that. It's similar to what you've seen with chat shows on TV or television series. Once the guys lose the passion for what they're doing, it's no longer there, and therefore nobody really wants to be interested in whatever comes their way. Right, so let's have a look at a few bits of news. Let's see what's come to us on the wire. And I must say that I talked a lot about Age of Empires 4 yesterday, and we did have some more news on this, but let me just quickly have a look. We had some news on Carrier's return to World of Warships Legends. So let's see what's happening in there. I keep getting lots of perks for World of Warships Legends through Xbox Game Pass, but for whatever reason, when I want to claim these perks, it's asking me to be downloading and installing the game. So I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. If you guys know what I'm doing wrong, then please do tell me, because for myself it's a bit of a mystery. We have Philip Glushlakov Glushakov, I beg your pardon, associate producer of Wargaming St. Petersburg, who's telling us a bit about it through Xbox Wire. And he said the April update brings several exciting additions to World of Warships Legends as the game celebrates its second year since releasing into early access. It's a wonderful game, beautifully designed, and similar to World of Tanks, they really apply lots of skins and add-ons and textures, and you'll be able to have a lot of fun. So it's not a classical kind of military simulation naval battle game. It does have actually other avenues of gameplay as well. Get ready to unlock and command aircraft carriers, take part in a new campaign, prepare for new seasons of arena mode. So they're going to be telling us a bit more about all that is on offer. Aircraft carriers are here to stay and scout out the high seas. Your feedback from the airstrike event at the start of the year was largely positive, although we have made a few changes to them in the meantime. First and foremost are the balance changes. We made some tweaks to give carriers a bit more power in battle. Well, that's pretty good. Most importantly, we added an automatic navigation system based on your feedback to allow you to reposition your ship while flying your squadrons around. The other types of ships also received ways to improve their anti-aircraft firepower in the form of commander skills, modules, and for cruisers, the defensive anti-aircraft fire consumable. So how do you get into a carrier, you ask? You'll be able to start researching US and Japanese carriers all the way up the line from day one, with Langley, Hoisho, Ranger, and Ryuo coming back at tiers 3 and 5, while two newcomers arrive at tier 7, Shokaku and Lexington. The carrier branch of the tech tree stems from the tier 3 battleships. Also be sure to get a head start in the commander game by fishing a set of unique missions available through this update to earn the carrier specific commanders. Ernest King and Tamon Yamaguchi, or should I say Tamon Yamaguchi. Get ready for an entire new dimension of combat captains. The new limit breaker campaign will also be featured in the April update, running for 5 weeks with 100 milestones to progress through. The crown jewel of limit breaker is the Japanese cruiser Suzuya. This Mogami class cruiser brings an awesome broadside of 15 155mm guns and plenty of torpedoes to keep enemies at bay. Couple her armament with outstanding mobility and you've got a powerful light cruiser. Suzuya served throughout World War II, though in a rebuilt form, so she saw action in several key battles, including the massive Battle of Leyte Gulf, where she was sunk by US aircraft. As usual, you can get her alongside a ton of equipment and rewards in the campaign with Admiralty backing. Arena mode is back. Get ready for the return of intense 4-way battles. Not one, but 2 seasons will take place during this update, each with their own distinct rule set. Players will see the return of leaderboard for both of them, tracking different metrics depending on the season. Most importantly, top 3 brackets of the leaderboard, namely the 25%, the 10% and the 1%, will receive steel badges. So it's the best time to start working on those steel reserves and for the week-long seasons, which will begin on April the 19th and May the 3rd. So that is, well, towards the end of this week, really. There's plenty more coming in this update, including some balance changes to German battleship secondaries, introduction of seasonal Golden Week content, and anniversary celebrations with a huge sale. So come and join the fun and turn the tide. I agree. I really want to recommend Carriers, World of Warships Legends to everyone, and if you have time, just download it. It's a game free of charge, so it's very easy. It's on all platforms. You'll be able to enjoy some of these add-ons immediately. So we've heard that hit the ice in NHL 21 with EA Play, so that I believe is then introduced to the Game Pass automatically as well. It's time to recognize greatness as NHL 21 comes to EA Play on April the 12th. That's pretty good. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members, you can get EA Play at no additional cost if you're a member, so you can experience the exciting new gameplay modes and features of NHL 21 as soon as the whole thing drops. So I'm not going to be telling you more about it. I'm not really a great fan of sports games, but definitely for anyone who is, the game is accessible through Xbox Game Pass immediately. Microsoft Flight Simulator World Update number 4. France, Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg are available now. So we have York Newman He is the head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, telling us a bit about it. I need to tell you that if you've not tried it, you're literally missing out on a lot. This is a wonderful, wonderful, it's not really a game, simulator, audiovisual experience. You can be flying your aircraft through various areas which are identical as if you would if you were in a real plane, and you've got to try it. It's a magical experience, and it will provide you with a soothing, very tranquil type of aura and atmosphere after you played maybe Warzone or Apex and you felt a bit, hyper or highly energized. So I highly recommend Microsoft Flight Simulator to everyone. So the head of Microsoft Flight Simulator tells us, in September we shared our vision for continuously improving Microsoft Flight Simulator by bringing meaningful updates to the simulator on a regular basis. So today we are releasing our fourth world update, and we are thrilled to provide simmers a riveting flight experience throughout Western Europe. So starting today, the latest free world update for the military flight simulator brings it all to France, Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg. And in the heart of Western Europe, embrace the spirit of bygone era, intermingled with modern influences and attractions as you explore a plethora of sites on display, from seaside communities to urban centres, idyllic vineyards, to epic mountain ranges and world-famous resort towns, all featuring stunning upgrades and visual enhancements. World Update 4, France, Belgium, Netherlands and Luxembourg brings improved digital elevation data and aerial imagery, high-resolution 3D photogrammetry for two of Europe's most iconic cities, and these cities are Paris and Amsterdam, and three new meticulously handcrafted airports, Megève, Nice and Rotterdam, plus visual and logistical improvements to 100 additional airports throughout the area. Newly added architectural elements, intense authenticity to countless procedurally generated locations, while more than 100 famous landmarks and points of interest have received custom treatment, bringing impeccable levels of detail to the region's most unforgettable sites. More castles and cathedrals, monuments, museums, palaces, bridges, lighthouses, dams, windmills and stadiums. Finally, to build on this bevy of visual improvements, the two new activities have been added: an exciting landing challenge at La Salette and an awe-inducing bush trip into the heights of the Pyrenees and the Alps. So World Update 4, France, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, is available for free starting today on to all Microsoft Flight Simulator users. Make sure your simulator is up to date. Visit the marketplace to download the FR Benelux bundle and set a course of the timeless beauty of Western Europe. Well, that's wonderful news. Thanks to our friend Jorg from Microsoft telling us all about it, and I will certainly download it and try it. Alright, so the other bit of news I have here is nothing to do with this and all to do with Mass Effect, and we'll go back to it straight away. I had singled out the news on my oh, what's happened to my Discord? Where's my Discord? So all of our friends who are members of our Discord channel would have seen it already, but I'll tell you in depth about the changes, and very, very excited to receive the information from Electronic Arts, and that's come in yesterday, overnight I should say. All of you know that, well, in view of the questions I received from some of our viewers, I am really most excited about Mass Effect Legendary Edition. That's probably for myself the most exciting bit of news that would have had really all together, and the focal point for myself in the course of this year of 2021. As you know, the Legendary Edition comprises all three installments together into one, and it's been completely reworked. So I had an article sent to me from Electronic Arts indicating basically all the changes that have been applied. So have a look. We'll read out all that's been said. Hopefully you guys can be as excited about Mass Effect as myself. I find the game to be, for myself, the best, my favorite, the all-time favorite, and I can't wait to see what Mass Effect, all 3 installments will look in that newly remastered joint format. So basically it's called Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and we have an article on visual improvements. It is all going to be in 4K, so if you have a 4K TV and if you are in possession of PlayStation 5 or indeed Series X and S on Xbox, you will have a tremendously immersive, enjoyable, very atmospheric and highly entertaining experience. So to us, welcome back everyone. The Art of Mass Effect supports and builds a universe in which rich stories and characters can be fully realized. It sounds somewhat counterintuitive, but as artists, especially on this remaster, we want players to be able to experience the trilogy again or for the first time without being distracted by the art. Our goal from the onset was to improve and enhance the visuals while staying true to the original aesthetics of the trilogy that have become so iconic and genre-defining over the past decade. More than a past decade, probably 14 years. Remaster rather than remake allowed us to build upon the original assets in a way that resembles the polishing phase in a normal development cycle, while also being able to utilize the advantages of much more modern hardware and software. Don't forget the Mass Effect 1 game was released in 2007, and the game was really using the old gen engines compared to the second and the third installment. So they said within this short article we are giving you an in-depth look at our remastering process with a specific focus on key changes and improvements made to the visuals, and this is what we actually included. So it's 3 different sections: building the foundation, modernization efforts, and rebuilding worlds. For those interested in the technical aspects of game development, it's probably no surprise to hear that changing almost any asset or system can and will break something else. When a game is in its final state, it generally resembles a house of cards. The simple process of blowing the dust off, let alone implementing foundational changes like updating this version, the version of the engine, will undoubtedly cause unexpected issues. So remastering a single game is a deceivingly complex process, and creating a proper plan for how best to mitigate risk while reopening 3 games to full development was foremost on our minds. But I would imagine that the works on the original Mass Effect 1 game were probably the most complex and difficult amongst all. So they said number 1 was building the foundation. We started phase 1 by identifying and cataloging every asset in the trilogy. How many particle effects, 30 models, textures, levels, GUI, that's graphical user interface, elements, sounds, cinematic movies, etc., actually exist across the trilogy, and on average, what are their quality levels? Do the source levels, content creation files, still exist? What percentage of those assets should be improved, and on average, how long will each asset type take to improve? Knowing the sheer numbers of assets and their quality levels shaped our strategy for improving each type of asset. So the original trilogy was released entirely on console cycle that allowed up to 1080p resolutions, but actually was very frequently running at 720p or lower. So now the remaster is releasing on hardware that allows 4K resolutions, so the answer for how many textures we wanted to improve was easy. Every single one of them. So for the trilogy, this was more than 30,000 individual textures. Try to think of that. 30,000 individual textures. First, we increased the engine limits on texture sizes, so any textures that were authored larger than could be used on disk could now be using their full resolutions. We then wrote some batch processes that worked along with an AI upres program to increase the original uncompressed textures to 4 times the originally authored sizes. An unbelievable process. Our batch tools made special considerations to maintain the validity of special texture types like normal maps or masks to ensure colors didn't contaminate each other. And obviously, if you're interested, they also released today a trailer which is giving you the comparative study of the old against the new, and you've got to watch it. It's really fascinating. It beautifully complements this article as well. At this time, we also incorporated some more modern texture compression techniques that would allow those textures to hold on to more of the quality on disk. So meanwhile, our programmers were hard at work upgrading our version of Unreal Engine 3 to a more updated and unified version. With the game playable again and much higher base resolution to work from, we began to improve assets by hand, manually. Number 2, so that's phase 2, modernization effort. Phase 2 was the beginning of what we could consider a full-scale development. The art team was now fully on board, and our content creation tools, many of which naturally changed and improved throughout the trilogy, had been stood up, unified, and made to work with more modern content creation programs. Eager to dig in, we started off where we knew the biggest improvements were needed, the original Mass Effect, so that's game number 1. Some assets, most frequently characters and generic props, were shared between the games, and many had already been improved in a later title of or DLC. For those cases, we generally used the improved asset as our base, improved it further, and then ported it across the whole trilogy. This resulted in more consistent and high quality assets, but we had to carefully ensure this process didn't flatten the sense of the passage of time and the overall narrative. For characters who appeared in all 3 games, like Lara, Garrus, Kaidan, Captain Anderson, and more, we maintained slight changes throughout the trilogy as they aged, matured, or simply got hit by a rocket. Obviously, we couldn't let uniforms branded with SR2 sneak their way back onto the crew of the Normandy SR1, and we still liked how the Alliance Admiral's uniforms became more militarized and sleek as the trilogy progressed, so we improved each version of these outfits individually. Our character artists worked their way through a prioritized list of hundreds of armors, creatures, characters, guns, and vehicles across the whole trilogy. They would frequently take on an asset back to its original high-poly sculpt, focus on achieving a consistent texture resolution, at supporting 3D geometry where needed, fix errors with baked normal maps or texture mapping. So central to our efforts was increasing the sense of realism in the surface response. While the games do not use PBR, that is physically based rendering, we could still work with the textures and materials to ensure plastics, fabrics and metals reacted to light in a more convincing way. Similarly, we dedicated a significant amount of time to improving skin, hair and eye shaders across the trilogy. Our tech animators then reskinned, i.e. set each vertex to move properly when attached to an animated skeleton, each improved mesh and imported it back into each game as needed. So the VFX, which is a particle effect artist, were busy extending the length of smoothness of animations for things like smoke and fire, while also adding more secondary emitters to beef up the overall look of each effect. A fire might now have secondary smoke trails and sparks, explosions, flint chunks or rubble, and the muzzle flash on your weapons now subtly illuminates Shepard and their surroundings. New environmental particle effects were added throughout the trilogy to better enhance the mood and the space sense of life. As many of you have already noticed, we also sharpened up and added secondary elements to the trilogy's iconic horizontal lens flares. Many GUI images also needed extra love and attention. In 4K, smooth flowing lines that once only took up a few hundred pixels on screen now expanded across tens of thousands of them. We had to completely rebuild many elements from vector images to achieve needed clarity and crispness, and while other images could be run through secondary, non-automated AI process to sharpen and clean up artifacts. We also improved all cinematics across the trilogy. Whenever possible, we completely re-rendered the where is it now? I beg your pardon. We completely re-rendered and the pre-rendered cutscenes in 4K. So when it was not possible to recapture, we utilized an AI upscale program of the original uncompressed videos. In both workflows, we tweaked the color correction, added or composited additional details and visual effects, and even smoothed out some of the edges frame by frame so they did not feel dated when compared to actual gameplay. Cinematic designers fixed dozens, if not hundreds of bugs that occurred in live action cutscenes and conversations. Don't worry though, the "what did you just say" head spinning meme still exists if you know how to look for it. During this phase, environment artists completed passes through each level of the trilogy, performing targeted fixes on any asset or location that visually detracted from the overall experience. This included adding props to exceptionally barren areas, remaking low resolution or stretched textures, smoothing out jagged 3D assets, and modernizing shaders on surfaces with poor lighting response. At this point, we also began resolving hundreds of bugs, from minor things like floating assets to major game-breaking collision issues, including a very frequent global issue where players could easily teleport on top of assets and become completely stuck. Our lighting designers followed closely behind the level artists, ensuring that all of the beautified environments and characters were always shown in the best light. Mass Effect's specific lighting style features high contrast spotlights and heavy use of complementary colors. That style was refined heavily throughout the trilogy, so we were able to bring many of those improvements back into the first game. We also focused on maintaining that high contrast look while adding natural bounce lighting to ensure characters are lit more consistently and beautifully. We also made systemic upgrades in shadows and added or improved post-process effects such as screen space, ambient occlusion, anti-aliasing, and bokeh depth of field, increasing the cinematic quality for out-of-focus cameras. We were also able to bring down engine features that existed in Mass Effect 3, such as dynamic volumetrics, to help unify the look of the first two games. Players have more opportunities to see the improved characters reflected in-game, as the trilogy also includes new real-time reflections, such as on the Normandy's fish tank, shown in the awesome video from our friends at IGN. Definitely watch the video. I watched it, looks absolutely incredible. And then Phase 3, the last one, is rebuilding worlds. In Phase 3 we began looking at opportunities to make broader improvements to levels and features, rather than just updating the individual assets. At this point we'd manually improved thousands of assets, but there was still a significant quality jump between the first two games. To guide this effort, we compared the levels we shipped to the original concept art, design intentions, artistic inspiration. We also took dozens of screenshots of our currently up-res levels and sent them over to Derek Watts, who was the Mass Effect trilogy's art director, and used them as a base for new concept art paintovers. So these broad brush adjustments were much faster to work on in a professional photo editing software. So there's some examples. So Ferrous has a very few visually distinct sections, including the colony and the highway that leads to the exogenic operation building, the aqueducts and the Torian lair. The former of these now features stronger smoke and fire effects, more buildings to fill out of the skybox, a lot more damage and debris to better showcase the attack by the Geth. We also leaned into the visual atmosphere of the creepy dark interiors with directional light, shafts guiding players to uncover the mysteries of the Thorian. That sounds creepier than ever thanks to the new audio mix. Edmontonians are no strangers to the brutalist architecture of the blistering cold, so we always felt quite at home in Noveria. Lighting was reworked throughout the level, the storm outside was intensified, and we accentuated the differences between the hotel area and the synthetic insights lab to hopefully improve your ability to navigate the mission's early sections. Eden Prime is the first location you land on in Mass Effect. It's described to you as a verdant paradise planet under attack by an unknown alien ship, but the site that greeted players didn't always align with that image. Luckily, in the Mass Effect 3 from Ashes DLC, which is of course included in the Legendary Edition, we already revisited Eden Prime, so we could incorporate its overall atmosphere and specific buildings. We moved the sun's placement so that the player's path forward is now illuminated by evening light, while the blunt red sky looms behind, punctuated by falling ashen trace of fire. We also improved the planet's surface with additional fire and battle damage, more foliage and destroy structures littering the crater Sovereign leaves behind. So numerous quality of life changes and expanded features rolled out in this phase, many of which were detailed in our previous blog. So be sure to check out our notable improvements, which include an updated HUD for the first game and its UI consistency improvements across the trilogy, such as tech UI elements appearing in blue and biotic UI elements appearing in purple. In the first game, they were originally swapped. The custom character creator has been unified and expanded upon greatly. Some of your favorite casual outfits from Mass Effect 3 are now available in Mass Effect 2 as well. So to really wrap it up is just a small brief message from the team. When we started working on the Legendary Edition, we were overcome with a sense of nostalgia and curiosity. We We know there is really something special in how the art and narrative work together to create this fully realized universe. To us, there is a sense of soul to these games, and we truly believe that we've been able to strike a balance between making meaningful enhancements while retaining the same atmosphere and feel of the original releases. The launch is now only a month out. We can't wait to let you experience these improvements while creating new Mass Effect memories for yourselves. So that's all the news. That's all the news I received from EA today. And as you've seen in the article, they described in depth all the works that they apply to the new Legendary Remastered Edition. I can't wait to see it, but for everyone, if you are in two minds about it, go and watch the trailers. The trailer came out today is remastered comparison trailer, so it gives you the images from the first game, and you will see exactly what they're going to look like in the Legendary. And remember, on YouTube they look good, but once you get them on your Series X and S or on PlayStation 5, they look even better. Alright, so let me have a look. We have still a bit more time, and we have enough time really to look at the questions that have come in. The questions did come in from several of our participants, and I think the questions are really aligned with our recent discussions. Well, we talked about the, let me see, channel rules, and we had, where is it? Yeah, we talked about Valkyrie, I think, and the other guys, the way they were approaching GTA 5 because of the toxic content. So there were messages coming in response to this, because a lot of people watch Valkyrie, and she's been given the Best Streamer of the Year award at Jeff Keighley's award ceremony last year. So it was quite significant. So thank you for the questions. And basically I received about half a dozen questions from the US and UK, and I'll just read out the names. We have Omar from NYC, we have Joshua from LA, we have Gemma from Brighton, we have Stanley from Newcastle, we have George from San Francisco. All of them are asking questions about how to maintain the community and what to do about people who are kind of disturbing your everyday activities with malicious comments and views and unpleasantries. And there was a question coming from Jonathan. Jonathan's been asking quite a few questions. Thank you for taking time to write. I mean, you should really pop in sometimes when we do Destiny and Apex to join us, crack on. Jonathan's a great fan of graphic novels. We talked about the shops in London and the places I used to visit in order to get the wonderful graphic novels albums, which at the time were only available there. And obviously today you can get them in your local libraries, you can borrow them, but still, for people of these wonderful graphic novels and tales, they'll want to have them in a possession, and these shops are still there. So anyway, coming back to Jonathan and his question, he said, how would you define ethical gaming? So I think that's really great, because we have two things together. We have first of all questions on how to manage your community, and this was in view of well, if you're not listened to the podcast yesterday, it's been reported on the wire that Valkyrie and there was another streamer, unfortunately I forgot his name now, Laser, I beg your pardon, Laser, I just couldn't remember straight away. Valkyrie and Laser were streaming GTA 5, and there was a lot of toxic content coming in their way, and they basically decided to discontinue streaming these games in order to prevent that degree of disturbance to be filtering out through their community of viewers. And they've done the right thing, and I think there were some suggestions of what they can be doing in the future. But on the other hand, I think I talked yesterday about the types of games that are accruing or generating toxic content. There are specific types of games. I think you're unlikely to be getting some of that if you play Pikachu or Pikaniku, but if you're entering GTA series overall, or if you're doing Call of Duty or Battlefield, you're likely to come across people who are quite abrasive and quite unpleasant. So coming back to what to do, well, I talked a lot about the terms and conditions, the rules, and everything else that needs to be applied. So, I'm not going to go through this. But if you're looking specifically at the procedures, how to do that, I think what I stressed really in my recent sessions is that the approach needs to be completely impersonal. Right? So if you're a streamer, you have hundreds of viewers and hundreds of people who are communicating every day with you through chat and live on air activity. you will have close bonds with people who are your regulars, who are your dedicated veterans of your channel. And that will be obviously both in terms of how you relate to them, you know them very well, you play sometimes game with them live online, and how you talk really about all different kinds of issues. And you have randoms, people pop in just for, for peak, and amongst them there will be people who do something which is unpleasant and offensive. So you need to treat them accordingly in a way which is completely impersonal, and you just follow the drill. If you have moderators, these moderators that you use need to be applying all the restrictive measures, i.e. they need to do enforcement, and that means automatic, depending on the severity of what is said. You can first of all send them a couple of what are they called, you mute basically their communication, so they can't be really writing anything for a while. But if they keep repeating, well, depending on obviously the type of offense, what is being said, if it's something more serious, then they will need to be just simply banning the person from the channel and then sending a report of these interactions to Twitch, and if necessary to any other relevant authorities, depending on where the offender was coming from. Obviously we are manning global networks, and I think it's very important to consider that if you're having somebody who lives domestically in your own country, you can use your own local authorities or agencies to tackle that degree of abuse. If you're talking about somebody internationally, then that comes under the jurisdiction of American federal courts, because they are the owners. But basically Twitch is a platform that is based in America, and any form of offending that comes in between different continents will come under that jurisdiction. So what you'll do is you'll need to ask Twitch to provide you with the email of the legal firm that represents them, and they are using this legal firm since January of 2021, so it's like 3 months in operation. And then once they give you the address, i.e. the email address, you can contact them and provide all that material to them. It's very important that the material is recorded and archived. Just don't delete it, you need to take screenshots and you have evidence of what's happened. Twitch will obviously have all the evidence in there, even if you deleted various postings, and then they can be examining all the activity and taking appropriate action. The overall view in the gaming community is that there needs to be a lot more done, to suppress that degree of toxic content and abuse, and I absolutely agree with it. But I've got to tell you that the big companies like Twitch and Facebook and YouTube, as well as some of the publishers, are taking it seriously, and they're really raising the bar, and they are doing things which are indeed a lot more community friendly and supporting to those people who are at the receiving end of certain unpleasantries. And I've heard stories, and I've had people also sending me messages indicating that they don't know what to do because somebody keeps changing their user IDs, always keep coming in, and I think in the very near future we will be having an ISP and hardware ban. Presently that is being toyed with, and they're experimenting with it in America, and some of the big publishers are trying it out. But once it's seen as a kind of a new industry norm, the new standards, it will be applied everywhere at once, and what it will mean is that the person using particular hardware will no longer be able to use that hardware in order to access certain games online. And I think it's likely that we'll have a greater cooperation between the platforms providing you with the tools for streaming as well as the publishers. Because if you followed my podcasts and my broadcasts here on Twitch, you would have recognized that the entire development stroke publisher community is looking at streamers as being the main means of advertising and marketing. They won't be investing hundreds of millions in newspaper ads anymore. They want streamers to be promoting games, and as you've seen with the games like Outriders most recently, this is where everything takes off. Everybody wants to play Outriders at the moment. It's the hottest game out there, and it's interesting because the press for Outriders was very bad, really bad reviews. And in the old days, you wouldn't have people buying a game paying 50, 70, 50, 60 pounds for a physical copy if the press was so bad. And today you could see that the gaming community will be not reading some of the reviews. They'll be looking at Twitter comments from the users, and they'll be looking at how many streamers are actually doing the game. Is this game very popular? How many viewers are watching those streamers? And I've got to say that seeing that I tried to send like 30-40,000 viewers during the first weekend was phenomenal. This is a new game. It's not part of a franchise or anything, and that's definitely the way forward. So the future will be definitely based on closer cooperation between streaming platforms as well as the publishers and developers. They will not want people to come in to cause havoc and, most importantly, upset other community members, because I think what we observed, and certainly I fed back to Twitch through my correspondence and kind of meetings face to face, was that it isn't like, for instance, myself. I'm obviously a mature streamer and a broadcaster, and I don't think I've had even once somebody saying something directed at me which was unpleasant. Obviously I don't get many unpleasantries on my channel at all, but even the minimum quantity that would have popped up were not directed at myself. They were directed at my other participants, my other community members, people who talk in a chat, or people who were participating in an online live forum. And that needs to be then immediately also recorded and reported to Twitch and other agencies that are dealing with this, and therefore they established a liaison with this corporate legal firm which is experienced in tackling online abuse, because they felt if somebody, for instance, would have had a first port of call through Twitch platform and then started harassing this person through Instagram, Facebook, etc., because obviously on Twitch they resolved him, he's banned, blocked, can't really get access anymore, but he's gone to the platforms to harass this person. They consider that to be serious enough for prosecution, and it's, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it'll be on the level of stalking, right? So it's not stalking in real life, it's stalking live, online, and therefore they brought in this firm to tackle it, because I guess depending on the laws of the country you live in, they will treat the offences according to the laws, and in Britain we really upped the laws and sort of updated them quite considerably in the last 5 to 6 years, and if anybody does something really seriously offensive live online, this will be treated with great seriousness, and there will be prosecutions taking place if you pursue it to the right channels. I need to say that you need to know the law, and you need to be pursuing it through the correct channels. That's most important, because if you're doing it the wrong channels, you will not be able to get heard properly, and your case will not be taken up. So it's very important, like I said, first of all, any form of online activity of that sort which is unpleasant needs to be immediately reported. You need to record it. If you're streaming live on Twitch, you will have live recordings which need to be uploaded to YouTube. If you don't want them to be visible to others, make them private so they're not in a public arena, and they will be good enough for Twitch to watch if necessary. And also, once reported, they will be looking at whatever you sent. What you can do is you need to ask your community members, all the people who are watching that particular activity at the time, to report the same offender immediately at the same time. So you have, like, say, 20 or 30 viewers. They'll report that particular individual immediately, so Twitch will receive 20 or 30 complaints about this particular person at the same moment, or within a space of 10 seconds, and that will be flagging this person up. So you have a person who otherwise would be relying on algorithms coming in and having a look to see what this person was doing, and that will frequently result in very fast action. So it'll be immediate suspension of the user, and then after examining the evidence they'll decide whether they need to be banned from the use of the service if they were breaking the terms and conditions as outlined on on Twitch forums. And basically yeah, I'm so sorry, my voice is gone. If, for instance, the way it works is they'll first of all be looking at whether this person has been breaking the terms and conditions of the service use, right? Because you're subscribing to the terms and conditions as you are entering the forum. So once you register as a user, although nobody reads the terms and conditions as given to them, at the point of the initial subscription, they'll look at that first. So for them, if somebody was breaking the terms and conditions, that's good enough for them to be automatically banned for life. Secondly, they'll look at how serious the offensive content was and what type of content this was, because it can vary from somebody being judgmental towards a gamer who's doing Warzone live online to people using hate speech, being bigotry, being sexist, being seriously offensive to others, demeaning, and providing them with sort of threats of violence or hate, and that becomes a different category. So they will be obviously banned for life from Twitch, but that could be also then reported to the authorities, and then could result in prosecutions. And as I said, it's very important to know the drill, very to know the law. So if you're not clear, obviously I can be telling you now for hours, but the best thing to do is you read what is on Twitch forums. You have the entire selection of terms and conditions and the means to which you will report and what action will be taken. If you are, for instance, feeling unsafe, if you feel that somebody is sending in unhealthy comments which are causing you distress, then you need to go through the local authority and the local emergency services that include the police and various other agencies, and you need to obviously provide them with the same evidence and everything else, just to make sure that you are backed up with evidence and you're feeling then strengthened and indeed safe and sound. So these are the methods which you can apply. I'll summarize very briefly. First of all, you need to follow the drill. You need to follow the rules, and you need to do reporting either by yourself or through your moderators in such fashion. Secondly, you have got to be always impersonal. This is business, and if you are doing something live online, people need to be abiding by the rules. If they're not doing that, they will have to face the music. And thirdly, if you feel that there's any serious threat coming towards you, or indeed if you feel that somebody is stalking or coming up with, coming to different forums through the use of different user IDs, you recognize it's the same user, then you need to alert your authorities. Basically, it's the police or social services or any other agencies that you will feel is appropriate for that to be investigated further. In Britain, we treat this with seriousness in view of some of the incidents that took place, and I think I'm personally, and have been personally, very happy with the overall responses. People should not shy away from reporting and banning, because don't forget, if you're ignoring somebody who does something toxic online, you're also supporting them and stimulating them to do that to somebody else. And unfortunately, just like any other situation, if you're open, if you're broadcasting in a live forum where you literally have anyone who is in possession of a mobile phone who can access your services, then you will come across all sorts of people. And I think it's important that your own channel rules and terms and conditions are always clearly displayed on the information page of your channel and also on your chat. So anyone who clicks on the chat will need to get the channel terms and conditions, so therefore they're quite clear right from the beginning what will happen next, which will be completely impersonal if they decide to break those rules. Right, so the question from our friend Jonathan was about ethical gaming. What is ethical gaming? Well, first of all, ethical gaming is a form of online activity in which everyone is feeling fully supported. It is provided in a forum which is fully inclusive, where no unpleasant behaviors would be present at any moment in time. In addition to that, it is provided in a forum where there is no judgment on display towards anyone. So whoever comes in, whoever wants to speak up or say certain things, or indeed join in with some online gaming activity, will always feel embraced, brought in, and supported at all times. That is ethical gaming. And in the same way as you would do charitable work, as you would do presentations which are family friendly and all inclusive, you will do exactly the same thing here live online, and you'll make sure that everybody is always fully aware of the rules that you run, and that you will not be doing anything to others through your live broadcast or live online presence that you would not want to do elsewhere, or you would not want somebody else to do to you. So ethical gaming is basically gaming live online that is adhering to the highest ethical standards. We all want to be civilized, polite and pleasant. We want to be open to anyone, any members of our community, irrespective of their background, religion, race or any other factors. We want to provide a forum where everyone feels safe. We want also to have other people joining our, like for instance with Microsoft Xbox Ambassador community, where we are supporting safe gaming live online, and where we kind of police the forum somewhat. We pay attention to what other people say and make sure that any unpleasantries are immediately eliminated. And I have to say that Microsoft forums are amongst the best, because I've never come across anything which I would consider rude or unpleasant on any of those message boards. They're obviously moderated, and people know that there are very severe kind of measures applied if anybody does something against the rules. And as you know, with Xbox, lots of people can then, well, certain people can then lose access to Microsoft services, and their Xbox console could also be made ineffective, through which they will not be able to use it for anything live online. And obviously there are measures in there that are protecting what we believe needs to be protected at all times. So ethical gaming is that sort of activity in which our communities then get connected to deliver a very safe forum for everyone to participate in. So that's basically how I would define it. I've been an ethical gamer all my life, and not come across many people doing unpleasant things, I have to say. And I've been playing multiplayer on PC originally in the 90s, and then migrated to Xbox and PlayStation over the years. And I guess it must be to do also with my approach and my age, which is putting some people off. I think it's likely that, sadly, people who appear to be a bit more vulnerable would be frequently at the receiving end of a certain type of online abuse. I'm very saddened to see that great number of complaints I've seen through Twitter and elsewhere will be coming from female streamers, where they're getting unsolicited comments and nasty things said to them, or unwarranted views. And that's absolutely, truly dreadful. It's abhorrent, and I think all these measures which I described need to be applied then immediately, because if somebody is a youthful female streamer, they want to run a channel that is based on Apex or Warzone, and maybe a bit more competitively, they should be allowed to do that, and without any form of interference or hindrance, and let alone any form of abuse. And as I said, Danusdi is probably the best example, and if you have a chance, have a look at her channel. She's a truly wonderful broadcaster, and somebody who really kind of radiates positivity, optimism, forward thinking, and most importantly, success. If you were running your channel for 4 to 5 years and you raised the revenue through your community interactions that made you able to build your own house, well, that is quite something, and I think it's both noble and worthy of praise. Alright, so I think we've come to the end of this broadcast for today. I've been talking quite a bit, and hope you guys managed to find some of my musings and ramblings of interest. There's been lots of different topics touched on, from content creation through the news and the novelties that have come to Mass Effect, and then also our community-based questions on how to ban players, how to keep your community online safe, and what is ethical gaming. I guess it's not surprised that we are getting more questions and more requests on that front, because this podcast is giving you an opportunity to really voice your experiences and concerns if you have any. And I talked quite a bit about what it's like to be a Twitch streamer, and what people need to be doing to provide safe forums live online. And if everyone was following the rules and doing what we all should be doing, then we'd have no issues. But sadly, as you've seen, even with the big streamers like Valkyrie and Laser, they had to be discontinuing their streams because the number of toxic content was just growing. And I really have to say, I watched the clips. I mean, if you can obviously double check them on YouTube, that they have clips which are dedicated to this. There are quite a few articles that would have come out during the last few days dedicated to the same. And I find it really, beyond belief that you would come to somebody who is so well known and so well established, who is loved by so many, and then you purposely want to be causing havoc. And it reminds me of a situation where somebody would come to a pub or restaurant and then do something incredibly offensive and silly. You don't tend to see that frequently, You know that if you do that in a public place, there will be immediate repercussions. And for some reason, people still assume they can hide behind their user ID or so-called internet anonymity. I just want to tell you that there's no internet anonymity. That doesn't exist. Everyone using any device is detectable. And if you pursue the right method and the right procedure, they will be detected. They will be punished for what they're doing, if that's considered to be obviously offensive or indeed, of serious concern. So, But as I said earlier, if you're coming into a sphere where almost anyone can pop in, it's likely similar to when you walk the streets and in a big city, you come across all sorts of people, and not everyone is well behaved. However, what you do on your channel and how you are enforcing the good behavior through your rules and through the code of conduct is going to be always appreciated by community, because people see, you've seen it on my channel. You've heard that many times when we did Destiny and even Warzone and Apex and The Division, and the games that will have some degree of competition in there with elimination and all the enemies that are coming your way, etc. You've seen so many people popping in saying, we really love being here because it's so family friendly. We've never heard anything being said here which is offensive, and yeah, that's because it's enforced. And I think people who are coming to my channel are unlikely to be talking to my regulars and my community members in such fashion. And I'm pleased with that. I'm proud of it as well, because it isn't just down to myself. It's also thanks to my community members who are adhering to the rules and always coming across as family friendly and civilized and fully in sync with what we have here live on Twitch, and that really helps. When you play with the randoms, it's a different story. Anything can happen. But then the randoms and the regulars is two different slots, and the games like Warzone and Apex and multiplayers, they're all based on constant activity and the constant influx of new gamers. So I think both in terms of what you deliver and how you do it is going to be perceived significantly to a different degree. And having your squads doing competitive games will be seen as you're doing it with people who are your dedicated members and those who want to be playing with you every single day. So it's their conduct that will be certainly under the spotlight compared to somebody who just came in through the random matchmaking. But equally, if you have sessions where you're building a community through random matchmaking like myself, you need to make sure that the random people, if they say something which is inappropriate, immediately either booted or muted depending on what is said. And you need to also verbalize that live online when you are talking to your viewers. You need to say, I'm very sorry that this has happened. I have no control over the randoms, and And also the other thing that I keep forgetting to say here, it's extremely important, and I think everybody needs to be fully aware of this. And it is a problem, because I did have it quite a number of times where you're doing 18 plus games, and then through the random selection of gamers you get children coming in. Well, if that happens, you need to leave that game immediately, right? And mute the child, because A, they're not to be there as this is an 18 plus game, and then secondly, it is against the law. It's a federal offense in the US if you have a child younger than 13 doing anything on Twitch. Could be any game, right? It's absolutely forbidden. It's against the law. And most people don't really recognize that. They allow their children to use consoles, and they say, well, just carry on, just to make sure that this child's not bothering them. And they're committing a very serious crime. And there have been instances that you've seen that, I think, through some reports on Games Radar and Infogamer, where there were problems for people who had their children live online. So it's very important that people recognize and enforce that policy at all times. And children are not to be present in there. These are not forums for anyone who's younger than 13, and Twitch is prohibiting anyone from doing this. That includes also parents who perhaps would be streaming a game, playing Destiny, and having a child on their lap. It's just not on. And if anybody reports that person, there will be serious problems for them. Anyway, I know I keep talking about this quite a bit, but I think in view of those questions, half dozen questions coming in about ethical gaming and how to police these forums, it's important, I think, for everyone to consider how to position themselves and what procedures to follow. I think the ones I described are giving you some ideas on what you can do. I'm saying that you need to do exactly the same. It's just the way I do it. On the other hand, you need to be fully aware of the policies that Twitch will have. If you're on YouTube, it's exactly the same with with that platform. You need to read them, the small print, in depth. And I also didn't say today, but I talked about this a few days ago. There are certain topics which are scrutinized. Okay, and I really have to tell you this. I really have to stress this. Twitch broadcasting is hard work, and it takes many years. I'll stress this again, before you build a vibrant, highly hectic and active community of participants. The rules as stated by Twitch are as they are, and if they're broken, Twitch is draconian. don't forget, as a broadcaster, you have the responsibility for that content which is coming from your participants. So it's not just about you, what you said, it's about what your participants are saying as well. So think about the disaster if you had people allowed to be saying certain things which are offensive on your channel, and they get reported by the viewers or others who watch, let's say, your stream on playback through YouTube, and you get a lifelong ban. Everything you did, everything you created for 5 to 7 years is deleted. It's gone. You have no longer access to the service. Think about it. That's just dreadful. That's something that needs to be prevented at all times. But it can happen. I did have some messages from broadcasters who were appealing against it. Eventually, obviously, they won their appeals, but it was not down to them. It was down to the community members who were saying certain things on chat, and they were not moderated. They were playing the game. They were not really paying attention to what was coming in the chat, and others who watched reported them. And once Twitch looked at it, it was absolutely against the rules, and that was that. So these are the things to consider. And you really, if you are a streamer, if you are a content creator like myself, like many other people on Twitch and YouTube, you want to be an ethical gamer from the beginning. And if you want to do something else which is perhaps slightly different, but also always abiding with the rules, you can do it outside of your broadcast, right? You don't have to have it always live online. But you've seen probably today that this chap in America broke Ninja's records, where he streamed 31 days on the trot. Can you imagine? 31 days, 24/7 streaming of everything he did, inclusive of his sleep, going to toilet and doing whatever. So he basically broke the record. He wasn't doing it 31 days fully awake, right? But all of his activities were documented live on air for 31 days. He broke the world record. And it's just strange that the trends are progressing down that route. But what I wanted to say was, even if you have that degree of attention given to somebody's live streaming, you really want all of that activity to be family friendly, all inclusive, and fully ethical. I think that's the bottom line, and that's the future of video gaming and the overall online participation. As we've seen, online activities in the pandemic are absolutely overtaking, and they're being taken with huge seriousness, and therefore the new measures, I can guarantee you, will be applied, and these forums similar to online banking will become very, very safe and sound in due course. Alright, so that's about it. I mean, I've run out of things to say. So no, it's not quite true. I never run out of things to say, as my friends here will tell you. And it's just that the time's up, and we'll call it today for today. So thank you to all who were listening and watching. Always said thank you for your kind contributions, and indeed for attention and time. Thank you to the viewers who were sending us messages and providing us with some feedback and questions. We'll carry on as usual. For all of you who are familiar with my channel, I'm on a break. I'm not streaming any games at the moment. Playing lots of games outside of my broadcasting hour. But we'll get back to everything as usual with Destiny, with Warzone, and with Outriders. So watch this space for a lot more. I wish you all a very, very good afternoon, and take care.